now being recorded.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on in the process today and skip ahead to Procure-to-Pay. And Procure-to-Pay has many steps, just like the order-to-cash section. And as opposed to order-to-cash, where we showed the order, ship, bill, we're going to skip ahead and skip over the creation of a PR, creating a PO, changing a PO, posting a goods movement or a goods receipt. We're going to go ahead and pick up a little later on in the game and enter an incoming invoice. So as you can see, I've got a purchase order tab that's already open. I just created that a few moments ago, and I've got a purchase order number down here. We're going to go ahead and pick this up as though I'm starting my responsibilities at this invoicing level. So I could come in and paste in my PO number. Similarly, I can also sort on my vendor. So if I've got responsibilities for a vendor, I can see all of the purchase documents that are open and actually access my open PO just from that. So by doing that, I can see at this point my purchase order has been put in. It's for a laptop in this case, with a default amount of $2,500. You can see the goods receipt item has also been created in our related document structure as we've seen in the previous order to cash section. Now we're in the third part of that, which is the invoice. So one of the things that I'd like to bring up is not only was the system connected to be able to go, hey, I started typing on my actual vendor, here's all the purchase orders that are out there. It is a connected system, as we've been driving home today, that one simple process where everything's connected. So if I didn't know what that invoice was that I had just put in, and I was just coming in and making a payment and wanted to see for whatever reason any of the PO history as well as the goods receipt history, all that information is stored in the same place. So I can see any payment deductions or payment terms, maybe discounts that are available that I might have, all the details of my order. If I had more than one item, it would just be listed in these rows, as well as some other information that might be interesting. In this case, it's coming into a material group, which pushes it into a asset group as well. So one of the things that's really interesting here and quite a big differentiator for us at SAP is, in this case, we ordered a laptop, and right at the point of ordering that laptop, it actually created a asset or added to an asset class this particular purchase, and in this case it went to asset class 600096. I can even open up this asset class because, again, everything's interconnected within SAP, and I can go ahead and see that asset, see that this is for our computers, when it was capitalized at the time of purchase, as well as some other information as far as, well, when is the depreciation schedule valid to, as well as which vendor this is going to, and which books that this depreciation will be hitting. So we'll come back to some of this a little bit later on, but I just want to bring that up, that all of this is created and the process begins right at the time of creating that purchase order. So coming back to my invoice through the related documents, we've seen all of our payment information. We've looked at the PO. We've looked at the asset class that it came in as, and at this point, I need to go ahead and put in my payment amount, and you'll notice the indicator went from red to green, saying that the system is checked, and I can go ahead and make that posting. So the posting is in, the document number has been created. Now let's go ahead and go back to our system. So at this point, I want to bring up the Asset Explorer. I mentioned that we did create that asset during the purchase. Let's go ahead and look at what that looks like. So again, here's that ending in 96 asset class. We've got a brief view at all the depreciation areas that were applicable to this asset and how it will be depreciated by various books. So, if you have different asset depreciation requirements. We can obviously handle those in multiple ways, and you can see all the different ways that we will be processing our depreciation. Beyond that, you can see what this asset class really looks like, who the vendor involved is, where's that depreciation going to go to in terms of which cost center are we going to book these depreciations to, as well as all the purchase orders that are building out this asset class. Obviously, it's a new asset class that just got started, but we've had a few postings go to it, as well as which GL account all of this is applicable for. In the main area, you can see the total asset transactions currently, as well as the depreciation and year-end valuation. And this gets pretty interesting in the sense of switching over to the posted values. You see, not only have we had the assets hit the books, they're obviously still quite new purchases, just starting a few days ago, but we're already starting that depreciation. We're not having to kick off different batch reports, not doing sub-processes. We're not bringing in a asset ledger and having to start that at the end of the month. Instead, with SAP, we create the asset on the point of purchase order. Depreciation logic kicks in depending which asset class and asset area we define the purchase order as, and then automatically the depreciation starts running. So our books are quite a bit further along the way as far as being up to date in real time, especially compared to systems where you have multiple ledgers and batch reporting. Over here in this comparison tab, this is an interesting area to look at. It basically shows you the asset valuation and depreciation runs that can be expected over time. One thing you'll notice is there's a little, highlight on which depreciation run that we're looking at right now. You can see that 32 is highlighted, so we're looking at IFRS in local currency. If I, for example, wanted to know, well, how is this asset appreciating under maybe a alternative minimum tax compared to our local currency, we can just highlight that and compare those two different, for lack of better words, ledgers side by side, where we're really seeing how this depreciation run is going over the years for multiple areas, and we could add additional ones if we wanted to compare those side by side. The final thing I'll bring out is the parameters. So this is more of that background master data that would be created for different types of assets. In this case, computers. We can see it's got a useful life, when the original depreciation started, as well as how we consider that scrap value. So these are obviously things that can be updated if you have a different asset. So if you're looking at large compressor pumps that do have a scrap value of 20% after 15 years, that's something you could put in for your respective asset. Going back to the home table, we've now looked at a incoming invoice. We've posted an invoice that went ahead and did three-way matching. We saw that against our purchase order as well as our posted goods movement. So what we're looking for in that three-way match is quantity and price over the purchase order, goods movement, and invoice. And we also saw how we can look at the asset in terms of depreciation. So the final thing, just to double check that I did post that invoice. Yeah, great. So I'm going back to my invoice. I see that it's been posted, but it has been blocked for payment. So the last thing in the P2P cycle would be making that payment. But before I do that, I guess I need to check out why we've got a blocked invoice. So in this case, I can come in, I can do a enterprise-wide search of my blocked invoices. However, in this case, I'm just going to stick to my supplier and get a more focused view of what's going on with my supplier. And not surprisingly, here's that same document that is being shown to have a block. Over here, you can see a little X that shows that the reason for it being blocked is because of the amount. Again, if I was new to the process at this point, I could still open up that actual document center and see all of my postings. So I can see my original purchase order if I'd like to, and my goods receipt, as well as my invoice. And you can see the reason that we're having a three-way match get triggered is in the P2P process, I have consistent quantity across all levels, but I do not have an amount put into my goods receipt. So at this point, I could go back and drill into my goods receipt, make sure that everything was up to date, and then ultimately come back and release the invoice. So we'll go ahead and release this invoice, and now at this point, I could be released to make a payment and really close the loop here. Workflow can be an issue for a lot of customers. You guys mentioned that workflow is interesting to you. At this point, one of the things I'm going to bring up is we can segregate the duties in terms of blocking the invoices or increasing workflow in the invoice department. So depending on how you want to manage your P2P process, we can work additional workflow in here to make sure that the three-way match rules aren't getting violated, but rather they're working the way you want them to. So we've gone through the P2P process in terms of PR, PO, goods movement, invoice. We've seen some work at assets. Let's go ahead and now finish the conversation and really show what SAP does a lot better, because we're able to take advantage of that run live concept that we have. So as I scroll down, I've got a whole nother workstation that is the way I like to look at it, my accounts payable, but in a cash optimization environment. Right off the top of the head, you see what is our current cash position across the enterprise. If you didn't want to know that, just at the entire upper level of an enterprise-wide level, this maybe is something you want to look at as a cash position for a country, a company code. You can filter down and sort that differently, but in this case, we're going to look at it from a enterprise-wide level. Good thing is we have a lot of cash on hand. If we wanted to take this one step further, we could move cash dynamically across the company and transfer where we're holding the cash. Again, workflow can be incorporated. You can see I've got a approved bank payments icon right here. Cash forecasting or liquidity forecasting. This is really, again, another differentiator. Not only are we looking at what's our cash position at this moment in time across the company that we saw in this first icon, where you can see all the details of where your cash is by country or maybe by bank group. But we can also see quite a big step forward as opposed to what's this look like just at this one moment in time. We can forecast that liquidity going forward. So in this case, I'm seeing what my liquidity forecast is in terms of my expected closing balance for the day is, as well as all the cash flow coming in and going out of the company. If you wanted to get more specific and say, well, how are we looking at that? We are not only looking at this as a point in time, but it's really leveraging the entire integrated system that we have going on. So all cash payments, orders, and goods receipt, cash incoming from sales, as well as cash going out for marketing, office supplies, the list goes on. We can really leverage our connected system here and see what that liquidity forecast is over time. Ultimately, for the accounts payable team, the reason we're doing that is so they can make smarter, wiser decisions as far as what they want to do with their cash. In this case, I have a cash discount forecast. So all of the cash discounts that are available to me that expire within 1 month, that's the number I'm wanting to take advantage of. And you can see across the enterprise, this is $274,000 across 1 month. If we extrapolated that out over all 12 months of the year, that's a hefty savings and something that can really move the bottom line. We also have thresholds set in terms of our cash discount by supplier. So in this case, as an accounts payable manager, perhaps I've got a cash discount utilization icon. It's a real live updated KPI like we've seen throughout the day. And I've got a threshold set that I want this to be over 30%. Obviously at 2%, more or less. We're just under that. And this is that red light that's really harboring on me to keep pushing me forward to make cash payments. I've got $1.4 billion. That's a lot of money. It's in green. That's over my threshold. As comparison, my cash discount rate is not where I want it to be. So let's go ahead and dive into cash discount forecast and see where some opportunities are available. By default, I've got that coming up as a discounts available by company code. You could set this up to whichever default you want. You can see a lot of our opportunities are going to be inside this 1710 company code. More importantly, who do I need to cut those checks to? In this case, I can look at it by supplier, and with this enterprise-wide search, I can come back to where we started the day with which is that original PO that was sent out in the P2P process to this supplier, Kaylin May. A lot of information here. Again, it's really visual. Not only are we doing the red, yellow, green KPIs, we're doing real-time graphs of what our liquidity forecast is over the next 30 days. You could expand that out or make that a 5-day window if that is more visually effective for you. And same thing here, we can see what are expiring discounts, expired cash discounts, so what did we just miss out on, and what's available. And in this case, we've taken advantage of quite a few, and we've got some other discounts that are available. So let's go ahead and look at what that would look like within this system. I pull up my supplier by line item, and now I can see all outstanding payments, what the due dates are on those, as well as the cash discounts that are available. You can see at the bottom of this list, a few of the payments are actually past the due date, and so we missed some cash discount that was possible, but up towards the top of the line, we have quite a few that there are some cash discounts where we can still take advantage of them. Again, everything's integrated. If I wanted to, I could open up that journal entry. So if I wasn't sure where we were or what we were actually making a payment for, again, we could open up that integrated document viewer and see not only the order but the goods receipt as well as the invoice that's come in and what ultimately kicked it over to us. And at this point, I'm going to go ahead and manage my my payments. I could also create a correspondent or block payment if there was something that wasn't proper with that three-way match, or maybe we had a broken goods upon receipt. All of that can be handled within here, but in this case, let's go ahead and just close the loop and create a single payment. You'll notice a lot of the information comes up. It's bringing over the amounts due as well as the dates and the bank correspondence that we're going to use for this actual vendor. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create, and at this point it's shown that the payment run has been scheduled, and I can go back to my supplier line item list, and that last payment, which was for $2,700, should have fallen off, which it did not.